Hi, and welcome back for part 2 of this video. If you unclip the underside of this as part of the transformation feature, it lifts up, but at the same time it also allows you access to the bridge, which is really nicely moulded. You can see the tiny little computer screens, ports for the tiny Optimus Prime. There's a center globe. I wonder if that's supposed to be, oh, it's a detachable globe. So there's 6 stands overall. So it's a shame that we didn't actually get any other tiny little minifigures. It would have been nice to maybe had a Bumblebee and a Jazz or something to go with this, just for this bit here. And here we have the Ark in its robot mode. Initial thoughts are it's big. It looks to be around a similar size to Omega Supreme, although this feels like a chunkier figure. The transformation of it was simple and intuitive. To be honest, after you started it, you didn't really need the instructions to figure out how it was all coming together, which is nice. I do find that some of the transformations for the smaller robots can be awkward and fiddly, especially when the instructions aren't as clear as they can be. But on this, the instructions were clear and the transformation was easy, straightforward. Most of the robot mode is what we've already seen, so there's no real additional decals. Although there is some silver on here, and we can get a full look of the Ark's head. So I don't think it's coming quite up, but there are tiny little clear yellow plastic for the eyes. The head is just on a swivel joint, so there's no movement beyond left and right. And there's some tiny blue paint in the mouth to give it a nice little effect. Coming over to the arms, both the arms and the legs are on a very tight ratchet joint. So there's no real chance that this is going to give under its own weight, which is fantastic to see. The fingers are articulated in, out at the thumb, and open, close at the actual fingers themselves. The fingers aren't individually articulated, and it's only at the initial joints here that they can move, which is a bit of a disappointment. It would have been nice to have seen the thumb close at the knuckle here, and perhaps had the fingers individually articulated. So it's a shame that that isn't the case. So when it's gripping, it looks like that, which looks a little unnatural. Again, everything's on a ratchet joint, so it nicely moves. I do like this feature here, which forms part of the hand, and as you can see, it closes in on itself when you close the hand up for the transformation, which is a really nice feature. It's the same on the other arm. Moving down, we have the legs. Again, these are on a ball and hinge joint, so tightly move in, out. You can get them to move forward and back. And there is a joint at the knee. So if I bring this down here, I should be able to show that the knee moves up. This is for movement and as a part of a transformation feature. The one thing I'm not too keen on is this ramp here. It's just on the slightest hinge, and every time you so much as knock it, it springs forward, which is a little annoying. But other than that, I really do like this as a piece. It's really well done, nicely designed, big, it's weighted, and I think it's going to look really nice display. The age rating on it is 15 plus, but besides the tiny little figure and the bits popping off when you first took it out of the box, which I didn't experience during transformation, I don't see any problems with younger children having this. Obviously, when I say younger, I probably mean sort of 7, 8 plus. They should be able to transform itself quite nicely. It's big, it's chunky, so they can move it around, and there's no real fear that it's going to break or they're going to accidentally break it. We will now take a look at the additional Autobot / Teletran 1 that we receive. So initially I can see that the little satellite is inside the robot, and it looks like the discs are already stored inside the robot, which is good. So they're not actually missing, and they're tucked away in the robots. So when you get it out of the box and they're not there, don't worry. They should be tucked away nice and safe inside the Autobot mainframe. And here we have Autobot mainframe in its robot mode. The transformation was really simple, intuitive again. I didn't need to follow the instructions at all to do this. It sort of pretty self-explanatory as you're looking at it. The legs come away, fold out and down, feet rotate around, arms come out, waist rotates. So head is on a swivel joint, no ball joint, which is a bit of a disappointment. Has the clear transparent plastic for the eyes. That's its chest. Arms are on hinge joints, move in and out, up, down, rotation at the wrist along with bend. Wrists only move up and down, which forms part of the transformation sequence itself. Legs are the same, they are on a hinge, move in, out, up, down, swivel at the thigh, and rotation at the knee. Feet are on a swivel and are hinged, so they can move out as well. I will get this transformed into Teletran 1 for its final look, and then we will come back for the overall thoughts on this product. And here we have Teletran 1. This was probably the most complex of the transformations to do, but even then it's fairly simple and straightforward. It's just fiddly getting the arms brought forward at an angle to plug them in here and here. Otherwise, this is nicely done, but in my opinion, it's probably the weakest part of the whole thing. I don't know if I transformed it incorrectly or something, but it's not quite as stable as I would have thought or liked, although I do really like the decals on here detailing the Matrix, Earth, the Ark, etc. On the back is storage space for the satellite, which I've already taken off. As you can see, it's got a peg port here and just plugs in with the arms folded up there. Alternatively, you can bring it round and plug it in, I think, to the front here. No, it doesn't plug into the front. So it's just, I want to say stand on top, but it's two. No, it's not going to. But potentially, if you play around with it, you get it to display on top. You also get the two discs. These store on the back here. One's really nicely clipped in, the other's quite loose, so these could have done with being slightly longer to hold both of these correctly. The discs themselves are plain, sort of record-like on one side, and then Cybertronian details on the other. Both have different symbols to each other. One other thing I wanted to mention, which I forgot to mention in the initial part of the review, was regarding the Arc and its blast effect pieces. So while these do fit onto the guns, they stretch out a bit, and I'm concerned that the rubber over time will deform and become unusable with other blast items. So really there's nothing here to put them on, which is a bit of a disappointment, although you can fit them quite nicely into the exhaust ports, so they can, so it looks like he's taking off. However, you only get two of them, so you can't actually do the full effect for all four, which is a little of a disappointment, and is something that could have easily been remedied by Hasbro by including a couple of extra pieces. Other than that, there's nothing really I have to add. Overall, I really do like this as a display piece. I think it has some fun playability in its additional robots and in itself. But compared with 2019's Amiga Supreme, this is somewhat of a disappointment. I felt that the Amiga Supreme was a fantastic toy and a fantastic display piece. It had the rocket, it had the track, it had the tank. It then transformed into that big Sentinel, which in itself had a lot of playability with its claw and its gun. So when compared with the previous release, this one isn't as exciting. And Hasbro seem to have tried to fit more playability in having this have a additional Autobot included, which transforms into a box, Teletran 1, and its robot mode. So that's a nice feature, but equally I perhaps would have liked to have seen that maybe incorporated into the Arc somehow. I don't know how they would have done it or how it could be done, but perhaps to have had one of the alt modes on this being the Cybertronian ship's deck, Teletran 1, etc. So that's my only real quibbles with this. Otherwise, I really like it. I think it's worth the £100 price tag. You can see where Hasbro have spent the money on this. The articulation is really tightly jointed, which you want to see on something this big and heavy. It's got some nice range of movement at the same time and has some great posability to it. Unlike the picture, I don't think you're going to get Megatron clasped in this, but you should be able to get another robot of a slightly smaller design clasped in it if you wanted to have it look like he's picking up and squeezing some sort of transformer. Although that said, I suspect if you had, say, the core class figures and you had something like a core class Megatron, which is a lot smaller, I think they're about 3 inches, it would probably hold that really nicely and would probably look about the right size for it. So yes, overall, as I said, I think it's worth the money. It's really nicely detailed. My only complaint is that perhaps it doesn't have the same level of playability as previous large releases, which if you're a younger collector and you want it for playing rather than displaying, you might be a little disappointed with that. But as a collector piece, you certainly can't go wrong at the price point for it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back later.